Hello, welcome to Cult Confessionals. My name is Sloane McCraw, and I am joined today by...
Cyrian Mills.
And today we're going to be chit-chatting. Cyrian's a good buddy of mine. I met when I joined Alt News last year, so... Good old buddy old chap.
Good old buddy old pal.
Good buddy old chap. So, Cyrian, we were talking just before we started recording about you working the equipment checkout and how the archive, the space that we were currently recording this in, the studio, used to be equipment checkout space. And I always find that so interesting because you told me a few times about it, but it's such a strange room because it is really carpeted.
Yeah, it's like carpeted and it's very narrow and like little to no ventilation. And so because we moved down here to have the equipment check in during COVID, so that way people would go upstairs to get the equipment, and then whenever their returns would be, like whenever it'd be time for them to return their stuff, they would bring it down here, and we would like take everything out of the bags, sanitize everything, and then just leave it. I think we also left that for 24 hours. And so, especially like the carpet definitely like was just absorbing tons of like sanitizer, like high strength sanitizer. And we would just be sitting down here with like 2 giant fans going because it would get so hot.
Yeah. What did it just end up smelling like the sanitizer or?
Pretty much. I would say the masks kind of helped because like if we ever had to like, even if you just pull them down a little bit to like blow your nose, or like if somebody left the room and you were the only one in here or something, I know people like, we'd like sometimes, you know, because it got so hot, we'd be like, okay, mask break. So we would do things like that, and it'd be like, oh, there's a noticeable difference in the smell. But yeah.
Your past experience with the now archive aside, Cyrian, let's get to know a little about the mills. You know, what have you been cooking lately?
What have I been? I'd say my most recent product, or I guess if I'm cooking in this case scenario, it'd be my most recent dish is the Motion Light ID sketch thing that we did for the newest Alt News episode. Yeah, that's one thing. I recently, a project that I've been kind of in the works for about a year now. I'm finally starting to kind of like get the production going on that. I recently enlisted Brianna Gallagher, another close friend of ours, fellow Alt Newser. I enlisted her because she's also like very big into like multimedia stuff, and she's been getting into clay. And I was like, hey, I've been wanting to make a bust of my head out of clay for the past year for this project. Would you like to help me? And she was like, yeah.
Is it gonna be like an Evil Dead style kind of thing?
Kinda. I right now it doesn't have to move or do anything, and I've so what I wanted, I don't know, I forgot what it was. I know exactly what it was that inspired me to do this. So just a backstory to kind of justify. So I'm a big fan of the artist, musician, person, Jack Stauber.
Oh, yes.
And he did a project where he does a lot of stuff with like teeth.
Yeah.
And I believe he tweeted a couple years back like, hey, send your teeth to this P.O. box.
Oh my God.
And so in a project, he had just real human teeth in this like fake mouth. And I was like, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And so even though it's not at all the same, I was like, what can I do? I mean, as a fan of teeth and stuff, I was like, what can I do? And I was like, well, dang. And at the time I was like very depressed, and my beard had gotten really long. And so I trimmed it, and I was like, I know exactly what I can do.
Oh my God, no, I know, don't tell me.
And so I made a bust of my, so the plan is to make a bust of my head and put like real facial hair on it. For the past couple haircuts I've gotten, I saved that. And so I have 2 bags of hair, of my own hair, that I've been saving for the past year.
Gosh,
and so that's going to be used to make a bust of my head. And I want to start this project because like not only does it mean a lot to me, but also I'm like, okay, I'm tired of doing this. It's like it was already kind of weird, but it is weird at this point. But I've reached kind of I've definitely reached a point of no return where it's like
It's just so much of a hassle, you know. Maybe like you start braiding it, you like donate it, I guess.
God. It's like, hey, who wants just 2 braids? Stick it on your head, and I don't know.
Come on, guys. Send Cyrian Mills your teeth.
Okay. All joking aside, if you want to send me your teeth, I would accept like teeth.
Hey,
But,
you know.
Because I think that's fun. You can do other things with teeth. Hair and beard trimmings, not so much.
I have all my baby teeth.
Oh my God, Sloane. I also have all my baby teeth.
That is, yeah. My mom like has a little box and it just has all my baby teeth in it with like different little baggies.
Mm-hmm. I have a safe at my house where I have a couple different of my teeth, but one where I had oral surgery, and my chin is like kind of pointy, and it didn't used to be this pointy. Just I had like this is a fake tooth I have right here, and so
They pointed to their mouth, by the way.
yes, I pointed to my bottom row where I had this big gap, and a tooth was not only growing completely sideways but also in the wrong direction. So they had to like cut open my gums, attach a chain to this tooth, and had to pull it through with like a bottom row of braces. It was insane. It was like a weird process where it's like every like 6 weeks they would remove a link. Well, I guess my body was like, and then my chin bone grew around it. And so they had to go in, cut my gums open after like a year of doing all this chain stuff, take the tooth out and like drill the bone down and like smooth it. And I have like a little divot in my chin still from where they just kind of smoothed it out.
Yeah.
But like they took like a big chunk out of my chin, obviously with bone and the tooth being there. But you can kind of like even feel the divot where it's like, oh, that's where the tooth was. And I still have it, and the chain is attached to it.
That's so cool. That's like a good jacket material.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be so sick. Well, also,
Right.
the thing is, too, is I was supposed to get my wisdom teeth out at the same time, but apparently my body reacted weird to, like, the anesthetic stuff. So I was, like, flopping around, and they had to, like, hold me down. And I think that's why, like, they messed up the sewing on my, like, the stitches on my gums.
What?
And so my gums are, like if when I lower my lip, it's, like, spider webby.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
It's true. It is spiderwebby, guys.
It's really weird. Yeah.
That is incredibly interesting. So your jaw was like a little bit more shaped, like shaping differently.
Mm-hmm. So like from like straight on, like I have like a decently like round, maybe a little bit more squarish, roundish face. But from the side, like my chin kind of pops out a little bit more.
Yeah.
And it's like
Well-defined chin.
yeah, and it did not used to be nearly as defined because of the tooth.
Also, how many wisdom teeth do you have? I gotta know.
I have all 4 still.
You have
I was
all 4.
I got that tooth taken out when I was in 8th grade.
Okay. Wow. And they're
I'm
gonna
24.
They were gonna remove your wisdom teeth in 8th grade.
Yeah, because I guess they were starting to, get impacted. Or they were about to be impacted or something, and so they were like, "We can get ahead of it, and like we can take them out now while you're already under." And I was like, my parents were like, "That's probably going to be the easiest." Well, they couldn't. Like, apparently, one of the doctors or the assistants had to go and be like, "All right, so you have to choose like what we're gonna do because like we can only do one."
Yeah. So this is the more pressing thing.
Yeah.
I don't have any wisdom teeth.
Really?
I just genetically don't. Whoa. Yeah, my dad only had 1, my mom only had 2, and I just don't have any. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And
my sister never had to get it because she had to get a jaw surgery, so they just like plucked them out then.
Dang. Well, the thing is, I forget what it is. I only have to get 1 set removed, but I was like, well, if I'm gonna be in there, like, might as well get all of them. But also, that's 2 more teeth if I get the other ones taken out. But yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like I am so busy, and like genuinely like being knocked out of like being out of commission for like even like 2 or 3 days is like, oh no. But if it goes longer,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, like that would
fair.
suck.
So we've talked about your current cookings. What's a project in the past you've really been proud of? I know one of them that you worked on these in the past that was very fun and interesting, involving a certain pot of coffee.
Oh my god!
But what is your definitive favorite?
Like if I had to,
What is the project that you worked on? It doesn't have to be like super successful or
Yeah.
anything, but it's just something that you liked working on.
Dang. Like projects in general or specifically all news?
Projects in general, just stuff that you worked on.
I would say if I'm doing projects in general, I have a lot that I'm very proud of that I'm actually like, I didn't think I would make it this far. Definitely the most, like the public execution of Garfield
Oh yeah, that's
was
fair.
one that I was very, very proud of that one.
Yeah. I mean, you filled up Hangar.
Yeah, it turns out, like we went over capacity at Hangar by accident, but I think it was like by 40 to 50 people.
Gosh.
And then like not only rewriting all the songs, learning all the songs, getting the band together, like shout out to my bandmates as well. Like they put in so much time and effort, and I really appreciate that. And they just kind of were there to support me a lot, and I really appreciate that. But yeah, like the props, bringing the cast, like you yourself, you were a security guard, and I wrestled you and Gavin.
It was a lot of fun.
For like what, 2 or 3 minutes straight.
Yeah, it was all of Misery Lou, however long Misery Lou runs.
Yeah, and I don't know, and then like I don't know. I think like I definitely noticed myself grow a lot more as an artist by doing like the on-stage stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I was also proud of myself when I was like, okay, cool, it's time to actually get ready to film this.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, I've just written and produced, or I'm about to produce an hour-long musical.
Yeah.
Which it was not the original plan, but I just made an hour-long musical unintentionally. And then I was like, oh, yeah, I have to start working on the recording stuff, like the actual like video production. And I was really like proud of myself when it came time to be like, all right, hey, camera people, we're doing this. Like working with the audio engineers and the lighting people and like everything like that. And so like I was really proud of myself, not only in the production sense, but also the on-stage sense, but also doing both at the same time.
Okay.
Like whenever I walked away, I was like, wow, okay. my like not only, I was like, whoa, that just happened, but also like I definitely noticed my confidence in myself when it comes to that, like definitely leveling.
I mean, it was a high-quality production, especially just like on the fronts of like, especially like in advertising, at least you have full marks because you made these posters that were so simplistic. They were white paper with you in the Garfield suit, like pinching at your collar going, wow. And it was just the information in black text over the white background. And then you had the ones that were art pieces where it's just like you replace, like you give him a Garfield hat.
Yeah, I did the Fallen Angel Lucifer painting, and then I put a Garfield hat on Lucifer, and then also made the hat cry just like he's crying.
Yeah.
And then the death of I've never learned how to pronounce it, but it's like the death of Marat. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Marat.
Is it Moreau?
I don't know.
I think so.
It probably Moreau. I don't know, but I just really like that painting, and like I saw there's a couple albums that I like that have that, and I was like, oh, I'm already doing the Fallen Angel one, might as well do this. And so I put the Garfield head on him as well, and I was like, oh, that's kind of fun because he's like writing a note, and it's like Garfield's dying, he's dead.
Yeah.
Womp womp.
Yeah, the advertising was fun, and then also like working on the show with you was a lot of fun. Even though like I hopped in day of to like do the like blocking for the wrestling stuff, but it was a lot of fun to work on, and also super successful, just super fun, and like it was full live performance, and it was covers, but it was presented in a different way, and you they were parodies. They're Garfield parody covers of songs, and that's just something that's like easily like a traveling act, especially kind of thing, you know? Like you could go on tour with the Public Execution of Garfield.
Man, that honestly would be so fun. Like it'd be one of those things where it's like obviously it'd be hard because of the band and everything, but it's like, I mean, yeah, I definitely felt like a extreme. I always commit to the bit, but I like definitely felt commitment to that. I mean, like at the very end, because I got killed 9 times on stage. At the last death, I laid on stage because when we looked at the footage, I laid on stage air quotes, completely still
Yeah.
for 10 minutes. Like, I did not move. And whenever I was like, because my bandmates were supposed to like give me a signal, and then they just kind of packed up, and they also committed to the bit. And then when I was like, oh dang, and I heard someone like my eyes were closed, and I saw like what I thought was flashing. And I was like, are people taking pictures of me?
Yes.
And then I heard voices around me. I was like, are people taking pictures with me? And so someone was like, hey, good job, Cyrian. And then like got up and left like right next to my ear. And I was like, that did not sound like any of my bandmates. And so like I counted to like, I don't know, like 30 or whatever. And I was like, okay, it's time. And I sat up right as some people in front of me were taking a picture, and the girl taking a picture screamed, and all the other people turned around and they're like, oh my God. And I was like, oh, hey, sorry. Also, me drenched in sweat, face paint running down my face, like shirtless. Like, yeah, I was like, oh, hey, my bad, sorry. But yeah, for a full 10 minutes, just
Yeah. I saw you getting up happen. Like I was by the stage and I saw the people taking the photo, and then I didn't see you get up, but I was like looking by and they were taking the photo, and I just see them jump, and I look over and you're like, huh? Hello?
yeah, I was so disoriented. I was like, oh dang, like the stage is cleared.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, this is nuts.
You should have done the Family Guy lay down, the fall like
Oh
the.
my God. Dang, I should have. I have a history with the Family Guy falling that like I was like, that sucked. I never want to do it again, because
Yeah.
like the steps at my house are like old wood, and anytime it gets cold outside, they get like super slippery. And it was like, I think it was like finals week, and I was like super tired and groggy. And I wake up.
Oh.
Have I told you this story?
Yes.
Yeah. So I guess I should continue it, but yeah. So I had like beanie on, hoodie on, and I had a bunch of granola and protein bars in my pockets, and so it's like 2 feet high up in the air, because it's like couple inch step, and then like wooden platform that leads to our front door. I slip on like the middle step, and I go completely horizontal in the air, flop completely flat on the concrete of our driveway, but I land in the Family Guy death pose, and like Sonic the Hedgehog, all of my granola and protein bars launch out from my hoodie pouch pocket. And I think this part like is probably my favorite. My beanie launched off my head, but as I hit the ground, so it just went like, again, completely horizontal, like launched off of me. And like once I got off the ground and was like, oh, ow, like, and I just kind of looked around me. I started to laugh to myself, because I was like, that was one of the most absurd cartoonish falls I've ever experienced.
That is, yeah, I do remember you telling me about this. That was last year, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I honestly, I think I was like, realistically, probably like 5 feet off the ground. I went full horizontal,
Yeah.
and just poof on concrete.
Because I remember like you complaining about like being injured, but you were still around. I was like, okay, sorry, do you need help, Cyrian?
Luckily, I landed on like the fat of my butt, and like I kind of broke my fall with like all the squishy parts of my body. So I was like, okay, I should be fine.
Gosh, a lot of people had falling accidents last year, and I think I don't know if that was a general statement of the year or if people just fall a lot, but like I had a friend that in the dorms fell off their lofted bed. And they just they fell off their lofted bed and landed on their chair below them, like sideways, and just it was horrifying to hear about.
The fall, not only falling off of like a higher platform, but also falling onto something is terrifying. And like, I guess another falling story. I was celebrating my friend's birthday party at a restaurant, and they all worked there, and we were all like goofing off, and I won't say any names because we were all like very drunk in this restaurant, like after hours, and treating ourselves to the food by like making our own food, and all of us were very drunk, and my friend, I won't say her name, but let's call her in this situation like Kate. So my friend Kate's like outside, and we're just like talking and hanging out, and she's like, oh, oh my gosh, like look, a table, and it's like a dining table where it's like the square ones with like the center support with like the four legs that kind of branch out of it.
Yeah, yeah. Like the leaves and everything.
Yeah. And so she slides it over to like the side of the building and hops onto the roof. Oh, sorry, puts a milk crate on top of it, then hops up into the roof. But I held one side. And then she's like, "Oh, I'm having so much fun up here." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I'm glad you're having fun." And more of my friends start walking out because they're like, "Oh, there you all are." And she's like, "Okay, I'm going to get down and come join you." And I'm like, "Wait for me to come grab the table." But I couldn't finish that sentence because she stepped on the milk carton. It slipped.
Gosh.
And because the table was like center supported, it flipped. She landed like completely sideways on it. Like, and then her like ribs landed on her wrist. And her other wrist hit the ground, like the concrete, super hard. Well, we discovered. Well, everyone like was like, "Oh my god, that just happened," or some people like laughed because they're like, "Oh my god, she just fell so hard," and they ran away. She's like, "I think my wrist is broken." Her wrist was not broken. Both of her wrists were broken.
Oh my god.
And also, if my timeline is correct, none of us, including Kate, knew she was also pregnant at the time.
Oh my god.
So yeah, that was very, very interesting. Again, that's if my timeline's correct. But yeah, fumbled off the table, landed on her wrist so hard, and then smacked her other wrist so hard against the concrete it like broke.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That is the horrible chain of events.
Yeah.
So
She's fine now. Her kid is fine.
hey, that's
So
we win sometimes.
we win sometimes. Yes.
So, Cyrian, important question. What artistically inspires you? Artistically inspires you. What are
I was like, those are two different answers.
Cyrian, what artistically inspires you?
That's a tough one. I mean, like, honestly, just kind of like, not to be like everything, like some like cheesy, but it's like, I don't know, like, I love everything, everywhere.
It's like people say they love every genre of music.
It's like, listen, you definitely have a least favorite. You're allowed, just, I don't know. Like, I listen to, like, a lot of music. I'm open to a lot of music.
Yeah.
But it's like, I'm cool with listening to almost anything. Like, just say almost anything. And I'm like, cool. But if someone's like, I'll listen to anything, it's like, okay. All right.
That's when I start pulling out, like, black metal. Like, new person, all right, here's a song.
I love pulling out, like, the clown core.
Oh, absolutely.
Like the heavy drum saxophone band that plays in porta potties, like, or just the most like ridiculous noise stuff. I have several playlists on my Spotify. One is called Running Like a Devilman Crybaby Character, and the other one's called Goblin Mode, and both of them are just two different degrees of noise.
Have you ever noticed, like, a lot of people that say they listen to all types of music, usually on their own exclusively listen to, like, video game music, like, fully instrumental?
Interesting.
I've noticed that quite a bit, which I feel in a way does put more label to the fact that they listen to anything, like, if it's like that.
That's right. I mean, I love a good video game score, so, like, I can't complain.
I listen to the Cyberpunk 2077 soundtrack all the time.
Cyberpunk 2077 and also the Cyberpunk Edge Runner soundtrack. Oh my god.
They need to release the Edge Runner soundtrack on like Spotify.
Mm-hmm.
There's copyright issues or something.
Yeah, well, most of the songs are on there. Just the one, just a couple of the songs that are like only in the show that aren't in the game aren't, which is a bummer. But even when I looked up the original bands, those songs aren't up there, which was weird. But yeah. But yeah, what was it? Oh, but like I don't know, like music, art. I love movies, TV, even things that are as simple as scrolling through social media because I see what other people are doing, and either I'm like, oh, I need to be doing more, or I see someone do something so cool and innovative, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's super cool. But like, yeah, like. Especially also the people around me, because like anytime that I have an idea and I'm working on stuff, I always love talking to my friends about it, or like either talking to my friends about it just to kind of like, I don't know, talk to my friend. Like, I want to share this thing that I'm excited about with them, but also like bounce ideas off of them and like, hey, is this cool? Is this good? Sometimes I think things are cool or good or funny that are not. And it's like, or I've had bits where even like I've written them down and I'm like, this is hilarious. And then I like look at them like even a day later, even maybe even sometimes like 30 minutes to an hour later. And I'm like, yeah, no, this was definitely like a caffeine induced like ha ha ha.
Or something like super situational. I've had bits that I've written down in my journal, like where I'm like joking around with my friends, like, oh, that'd be a good thing, and I write it down, and it's like, what does this even mean? Like, why would this be funny at all? And it was just like purely in the moment, like just something that someone said was just really funny.
Yeah, or like I guess kind of going off that like when you're like, oh my god, that bit would be so good, and then the more you think about it and you actually like write it out and like I guess proceed with like the creation of it in any way, sometimes it's like, ooh, this is only really funny in context, huh?
Yeah, and then like you need to build up a lot of context, but sometimes context in that case is like so much.
Yeah, I've had several bits like that, but there's a YouTuber I really like called Drew Gooden, and he did a bit where he like went through his notes app and he's like, what does any of this mean? Or he'd be like, this is bad. And like he's like he did that, and I was like, honestly, I respect that a lot. Where he's just like, see, not all of them are gonna be winners.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair. I always keep bits in like I have a Rob Spar journal, as I call it now, and Rob's probably listening. I love my Rob Spar journal, but I keep it separate because I won't look at my notes again on my phone ever when I write them down. So my phone is full of notes that are usually numbers, and it's usually like coding numbers for working at the radio station to put in shows.
Okay.
So I will just go into my phone and see lists of different numbers, and I'm like, I don't even have time to like delete all these.
Yeah, I have like I use my phone. I use like Google Docs. I use like I have a notebook that I just kind of keep like random notes in, but especially like idea notes. Because like I love like flipping through the pages like I'm Dipper Pine and Gravity Falls, and I'm like, oh, what's this little mystery? Especially if there's ones where it's like I only had like a split second to write something down, and I like leave the weirdest little note for myself, and I'm like, what did this mean? And sometimes I've been doing that for years, and I've like gone through those old notebooks, and I'm like what? I wish I could think of an example, but some of them are just so like stupid or made no sense where I can't even think of any.
Well, it's usually stuff like all in the moment, and like if you're really quickly scribbling something down, you can usually write like 4 words. You know what I mean? Like if you're in conversation, you don't want to stop a conversation, so it'd be like to give an like a 3-sentence elevator pitch, you're gonna be like a hot dog sandwich. That's it.
I will say though, because like I like talking to a lot of people at once. Like I can socialize and talk, but also like be like you've seen me like draw or crochet or I'm really good at like multitasking. And plus I love like stimming. But like
we're both neurodivergent here. We both do the always moving fingies.
Oh yeah. And if our fingies aren't moving, you best bet at least my face is. Like I'm always got a little twitch going on. But yeah, just like yeah, I have like these weird little things, but like I have gotten really good because I'm also messaging a lot of people, like, or sending things to people, and so I've gotten kind of good where I'm like, oh hey, I have to respond to something real quick, and I might have to respond to something, but I'll also it's like, well, I'm already kind of like doing this, I might write something down, because like if I've put off responding to like a friend who texted me, because I'm like, oh, I'm in this conversation, and I'm like, oh. It's been like 10 minutes, but like I should have responded probably sooner, and I would have if it wasn't for this. I'm like, hold on, I'm sorry, I had to respond to this really quick. And then I might give myself the ability to be like, all right, if not 4 words, then maybe quick little sentence, like 10 words maybe. Yeah. And then I'll always be like, I'm sorry, like I had to take care of that. But I try not to do that too often. But yeah, no, I'm always it always feels like I'm going like a mile a minute sometimes. So, but.
Yeah. And circling back a bit, so do you feel like like the collaborative bit is the important part of your process to like get stuff like flowing, you know?
I love collaborating, and I love just also sharing things with people.
Yeah.
So like that's really fun, and so especially if we get to kind of put group effort into it, and it's like, yeah, cool. Like obviously there's like satisfaction in like, yeah, I did this like all by myself, but then there's even like, I don't know, there's something I like more where it's like, oh yeah, I have the satisfaction and I got to not only share that with my friend, but also have this experience with a friend or friends. And so yeah, that's really nice. But I guess also like while I'm thinking about it, because like one thing that has also inspired me a lot is my like failures. Like I've had a lot of times where like I've messed up a project or messed something up, and like I'm like, cool, learn from this, don't do it next time.
Fair.
Or like even seeing other people's failures.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, cool, I know what to avoid because I saw someone try to do that and it did not work.
Yeah.
Even if I had no intent of doing it, I now know that like, no.
Yeah, I think that's what's a good thing about being like in spaces like alt news is like you get the collaborative effort of, oh, I can be in here and I'll mess up on things and I'll learn from them, but also like, oh, I'm here and people are also learning things, and if I'm not doing it, then I'm probably learning from them also doing it.
Yeah, because I think that's another thing I love is like with alt news is like you get the community aspect, you get friends, it's social, you get a free voice to kind of create whatever you want to create, but also you get to learn from your own and other people's successes and losses. And so I think that's definitely something that's so great about it is like when people come into the loft on tours, or even if they're like new students and they're like, I'm just looking for something to do. I'm always like, not only is this a great not only is this a great place and a great way to meet people and create things, it's also a great time to mess up.
Yes.
Like, there have been several times where it's like, if I was like a PA on a job or anything on like an actual like set or in a real job position,
Fired.
I would have gotten fired instantly. And I'm like, oh, I'm glad that I learned this mistake like my first month in alt news, or even still, like I still goof up. Like I'm definitely not like free of any. It's like, I've been here 5 years. I can never mess up. If I was like that, then
for
I
one of my
deserve
shoots recently.
What?
I forgot batteries for one of my shoots recently.
Yeah, it happens.
So, yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like, oh shit. And yeah, like I mentioned before, like I completely forgot SD cards, and I brought one on quote unquote on accident, only because I was using the camera that had a glitch that needed a SD card. So I was like, oh, in case this glitches, and it just worked out. But I was like, oh, if I was sent to this concert, I was sent to a Phoebe Bridgers concert to do press photos. If I was like here as like a job, I would have been like, sorry, I didn't get any pictures. It's one of those things where it's like, oh, I probably would have gotten fired, or at least like heavily reprimanded. But hey,
so that's why we got it, you know.
Yeah.
Well, Cyrian, we are reaching the end times.
You can say that again.
But I have one more thing to ask of you. Do you have a cult confession to leave with us today? Just anything, something off your chest. It could be absolutely anything.
Cult confession.
Yes, they can be silly. They can be
silly.
serious. They can be a little in between. All you have to keep in mind is that your name is attached to this video.
Good. Oh man, I'm trying to think ones where it's like, ooh, this is like I'm about to say one, I'm like, that's incriminating, or it's like, that's not good, like that good. But it's okay, this is one that is not too bad because my friends and I did not do it too often. There was a night or two in high school where me and a bunch of friends, after a big string of pranks happened by this like one group of girls, like one or two different groups of girls, me and 2 or 3 of my other friends went out and then committed pranks and then framed them for them. Oh my God. Because everyone knew it was already them. And like that did the other like string of pranks. And so we're like, we know the plan. And so while everyone else was out doing like the pranking, like the TPing and like egging and stuff, I was like leaving traces behind to be like, oh, this would make it seem like these people were here. Yeah. And so Yeah, there was that instance. I suppose that's the most recent. That's the deepest one I can think of.
That's pretty incredible. That's like in a murder show where it's like, I'm an author and I write murder books, and then it's like the detective's like, oh, someone's been committing the murders in your books. You look like a murderer.
Yeah, because I mean, yeah. And then I will say the next day at school, because I had some of them in my class, they were like, yeah, like so and so came up to me and was like accusing me of like, or like you and I are like pranking them last weekend. Like we didn't do anything. They were like super confused, and I was like, but that was like, I don't know, like 15, 16-year-old Cyrian.
Yeah.
And I was like, nice.
That's actually incredible. Well, Cyrian, thank you so much for joining for this episode of Cult Confessionals.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you everyone to listening for another good old episode of Cult Confessionals. I hope to see you next time. And thanks again to Cyrian for joining me. Love you, mean it, bye.